I've been a truck driver for nearly 2 decades, hauling everything from furniture to industrial supplies, but this was the first time I'd ever received instructions to not ask questions. It was a standard late-night job, a single sealed crate to be delivered to an estate just outside of the city. The address was exclusive, the kind that GPS doesn't easily pull up, and the dispatcher's tone was curt. Don't open it. Don't stop anywhere. That alone should have been a red flag, but the bonus they offered was too good to pass up. So I shrugged it off and hit the road. The crate was loaded onto my trailer before I even arrived at the depot. It was big, probably about the size of a small car, wrapped in thick black plastic. The thing that stuck out was how cold it was. Even in the December chill, the air around it seemed unnaturally cold. I started the drive a little after 10 p.m., the highway mostly deserted. The farther I got from the city, the darker and quieter it became. About an hour into the trip, I began to notice an odd noise coming from the back. It wasn't loud, just a faint rhythmic thumping, like something was shifting slightly inside the crate. At first, I convinced myself it was nothing. Maybe the load had settled, or I'd hit a bump in the road, but then it came again, louder this time. Thump, thump. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel, trying to ignore it. The mansion came into view a little after midnight, perched atop a hill and surrounded by tall iron gates. The driveway was long and winding, lined with manicured hedges and statues that looked eerie in the moonlight. As I approached the gate, a security guard stepped out of a small booth. "Park by the service entrance," he said gruffly, barely making eye contact. The mansion itself was enormous, its windows glowing with warm light. I could hear faint music coming from inside, a low, rhythmic bass that seemed to vibrate through the air. Another man, dressed in a sleek black suit, met me as I backed the truck into position. "Stay in the cab," he said firmly. "We'll handle the unloading." I wasn't about to argue. I sat there for what felt like an eternity, watching in my mirrors as a group of men unloaded the crate. They moved quickly and efficiently, but there was a tension in their movements, like they were racing against time. And then I saw it. One of the men accidentally tore a small hole in the plastic wrapping. He froze, staring at whatever was inside before hastily covering it back up. His face was pale, his hands shaking. Whatever was in that crate wasn't normal. After they finished, the man in the suit approached my window. "You're done here," he said, handing me an envelope. "This is your payment. Leave immediately." I didn't argue. I started the engine and began to pull away, but as I glanced in my rearview mirror, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The crate was being wheeled into the mansion, and for a split second, I thought I saw something move inside it. Not a shift, not a wobble, something deliberate, like a hand pressing against the plastic from within. The drive back was a blur. My mind raced with questions, but I knew better than to dwell on them. I just wanted to get home and forget the whole thing. But forgetting wasn't an option. A few days later, I received a phone call. It was the dispatcher, his voice low and serious. "You didn't talk to anyone about the delivery, did you?" "No," I said, confused. "Why would I?" There was a long pause on the other end. "Good. Keep it that way." That night, I couldn't sleep. My thoughts kept circling back to the crate, to the strange cold that seemed to radiate from it, to the movement I thought I'd seen. And then, around 3 a.m., I heard it. A soft, coming from outside my house. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. The sound came again, louder this time. It was the same rhythmic noise I'd heard during the drive. I grabbed a flashlight and crept to the window, peering out into the dark. At first, I didn't see anything, but then, at the edge of my driveway, I noticed something. A faint outline, partially obscured by shadows. It was the crate. I don't know how long I stared at it, my mind struggling to make sense of what I was seeing. It couldn't be the same crate. It was impossible. But then it moved. The plastic wrapping fluttered slightly, as if something inside was shifting, an outside dart. I couldn't be the same crate, as if something inside was shifting. The same icy chill I'd felt during the delivery seemed to seep into the air around me, even through the closed window. I backed away slowly, my hands shaking. The next morning, the crate was gone. I tried convincing myself it had been a nightmare, a trick of my overworked mind, but deep down, I knew better. I haven't taken a job like that since, and I've avoided anything that even remotely resembles Diddy's estate. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear that sound. The thumping sound stayed with me for weeks after that night. I told myself it was my mind playing tricks, paranoia from overthinking what I'd delivered to Diddy's mansion. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. Then, 2 weeks later, the envelope with my payment arrived. I hadn't touched the money since. Something about it felt dirty, like accepting it had tied me to something I didn't understand. But this wasn't just money. It came with another note. It was written in sharp, precise handwriting. If you saw too much, keep quiet. We are always watching. My stomach dropped. I hadn't told anyone, not a soul, about the delivery, yet they were reminding me of the rules. That night, the thumping returned. Only this time, it wasn't outside. It was in my house. It started faint, like before, but it was coming from the walls now, reverberating through the very frame of the house. I grabbed a flashlight and started searching every room, every corner. The sound seemed to move, retreating just as I got close. And then, in my basement, I saw it. A piece of black plastic, crumpled in a corner. It was unmistakable. It was from the crate. My blood ran cold. I didn't know how it had gotten there, and I wasn't sure I wanted to. But as I reached down to pick it up, I noticed something else. The concrete floor of the basement was wet, like something had leaked through. The smell hit me next. Metallic, sharp, unmistakable. Blood. I backed away, my heart pounding, when I heard it again. Thump, thump. It wasn't in the walls anymore. It was directly behind me. I turned, my flashlight shaking in my hand, and saw a figure. It wasn't human, not entirely. It was hunched over, its arms too long, its movements jerky and unnatural. But what struck me most was its face, or the lack of one. The place where its features should have been was smooth, blank, like polished stone. The creature tilted its head, almost curiously, and then it lunged. I scrambled up the stairs, slamming the door behind me. My heart was racing, adrenaline pumping through me as I grabbed my phone and called the police. I didn't even know what I'd tell them. How do you explain something like this? But before they could answer, the line went dead. The lights in my house flickered, then went out entirely. The air grew cold, so cold that I could see my breath in front of me, and then the thumping started again. Louder now, faster. I barricaded myself in my bedroom, clutching a heavy wrench I'd grabbed from the basement. Whatever this was, I wasn't going down without a fight. The noise stopped suddenly, leaving it oppressive silence in its wake. And then I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming down the hallway toward my door. I held my breath, gripping the wrench tightly. The door handle twisted, the lock rattling as if something was testing it. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, everything stopped. The lights came back on, and I was left standing there, trembling in the silence. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I called a locksmith and had every lock in the house changed. I also installed cameras around the property, hoping to catch whatever was tormenting me. Days passed with no sign of anything unusual. I started to believe maybe it was over. Maybe whatever had come with that crate had decided to leave me alone. But then I checked the footage. On the night the creature had appeared, the cameras had caught something, just not what I expected. The footage showed me sitting on my couch, staring blankly at the TV. But I wasn't alone. Standing behind me, in the shadows, was a figure. It was watching me, unmoving, for hours. And then, as the thumping started, it simply vanished. I packed my bags that day and left town. I didn't care where I was going. I just simply needed to get away. But wherever I went, the thumping followed. Hotels, motels, even staying with friends, it always found me. I don't know what was in that crate, and I don't think I ever will. All I know is that whatever it was, it's tied to me now, and I can't escape it.